This past week, the Toledo Walleye hosted their annual end-of-the-year player send-off. Look at those. Who are those guys? Freshly coiffed. A chance for the Fanatics, and there were a bunch of them, to say goodbye to their heroes. But this year, the event happening a little later than normal thanks to that incredible Kelly Cup final run. Sometimes it's hard to let go. That's why today we needed a little help. And with that, we bring him back for one more talk on the Walleye. Matt Melzak, voice of hockey in Toledo. And by the looks of it, Matt, you're still in playoff hockey mode.
Well, you said, hey, do you have a little time for us? We want to talk hockey, so I figured, well, I better not shave now. I mean, I might as well wait a little bit longer. So, you know, full, what, when was the end of the regular season?
I don't
now?
remember
2 months?
anymore.
At least 2 months
of
full growth going. I mean, you know, I can't get rid of it.
Is this the most ever? I mean, is this the most?
It is the most ever that
impressive.
I've ever grown in. Yeah, this is the longest I've ever let it go and just, you know.
When are we
now,
done
my
with
goatee last summer, though.
Oh, that was
because last year I said, okay, I'm just not going to shave the goatee.
Yeah.
And so I let that grow in, and then the hens were first.
Yeah.
So if you remember, I was like, well, gee,
playoff beard.
I've never had called baseball with a team that's in first place this deep into the year. So I let it go.
You did?
All the way till the end of July, and then I was starting to get that, you know, from some people that are higher up than me on the totem pole.
There are those.
That are there,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, I know you're top of the mountain, but for me, I got a lot of people I have to answer to, and they were like, you know, hey, any thoughts about trimming that up a little bit? It's getting a little out of control. And then they fell out of first, and then I went, okay, well, I'm good. I just go ahead and trim, and then we're all good.
I tried that one time, and I got that email. That's about enough.
Yeah, it's about enough.
Yeah, so, okay,
you know,
it was done.
it is getting to the point that where it is not good for TV. I don't think, but you know, especially on me. But hey, you know what? It's been a great run, and you get to the finals. This is the kind of beard you get.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed. I want to address
I think
that
the best
first.
one, though, I will give you the best. I think was Kevin Tansey.
Hunter Smith? No.
Well, Hunter Smith has the beard all year.
I mean, that's amazing.
No,
what Hunter Smith is doing.
No. Hunter Smith's beard is fantastic, but he has it all time.
True. Yeah, he had it in the summer.
He had it in the summer. He had it when he showed up in camp.
Right.
Kevin Tansey, though, started clean right at the beginning of the playoffs, and I mean, this thing was red, and it was impressive.
Yes, my people.
At the end of the year. Yeah.
Yes, the corporal. Okay, so we haven't seen you since they wrapped up the party on Friday with the Fanatics again. Amazing, showing up in full force. Now that it's over, now that you sit back, I think Mark Monroe, our friend over at the Toledo Blade, had an article, top 10 games of the year. What do you take away from what we witnessed, what we were a part of in this past season?
Well, I still take my biggest takeaway, and I think we actually discussed this at the end of the regular season, was the job done by Dan Watson this year. And I know we've talked about it. It's probably been written a little bit as well, but I mean, think of all of the things that he had to deal with this course of this season.
Yeah.
And to still field a team that, you know, I don't know if it was quite his vision last summer, but to find a way to manipulate it to close to that when you got to the playoffs, because he had a vision of how he wanted his team to be able to play in the postseason. And you saw it when they got into the postseason. The job what they did against Cincinnati stands out. You know, they had that opportunity to finish out Tulsa, didn't do it, so it made it a little bit longer. And I don't know if that was detrimental in the Kelly Cup final series, but his vision of how he wanted this team to look like when it got to April, when it got to May, and ultimately into June tells you an awful lot about the job that he was able to do, because there was a lot that happened during the course of the season. There were a lot of players that came through. When you're in the 40s for your yearly roster of guys you've used, that means you've had a lot of transactions, you've had a lot of injuries, you've had a lot of call-ups, stuff to deal with that, you know, it makes it hard to be a winner.
Right.
And the job that he did, Andy Delmore, Alden Hirschfeld on that staff as well, I want to give them credit is also. That to me is what I take away from this season, because there was a lot he had to deal with over the course of the year. And to handle that the way he did and still create a team that could go to the Kelly Cup finals, it's impressive.
Yeah, well, that obviously, and you mentioned we've talked about that this year. The other thing, too, is just my thought was taking that next step to get to that Kelly Cup final, because think about how many times we've been so close and come up just short, and the anguish and the frustration of not being able to get into that Kelly Cup final. This time we do it, and maybe we've got a formula now moving forward.
Yeah, that's possible. I mean, every year is so different. I mean, the players will change.
Sure.
You know, the names on the back of the jerseys will be different. I mean, but you look at the evolution of it, and I can take your point and run with it a little bit, because you had that quick run to the conference finals with the 2015
Oh, yeah.
team that probably should have won the Kelly Cup.
Yep.
That team was so good. I think they do if they had gotten past South Carolina. It just didn't happen in that triple overtime game. It just wasn't meant to be. But you know, you go from there to the lows of the next year, losing in the first round to Reading. Then you turn around, another run to the conference finals, and you run into a juggernaut in Colorado. You know, the next year you get bounced by Fort Wayne, and everybody's kind of like, man, are we taking a step back? And I just want to remind people, though, that the teams change so much.
Right.
I mean, you can look at Shane Burschback's been around all through it. A.J. Jenks been around all through it. And, you know, Pat Nagel a couple of years now. But for the most part, who else?
Yeah.
Not really that many. I mean, so when you look at the fact that the rosters change so much year in, year out, I think it's hard to say, oh, we've taken that next level, that next step. But in your thought, it was nice to see that the city of Toledo got to celebrate playing in the Kelly Cup finals and being in a championship series. And that's where you can take that and say that was maybe the coolest moment we've had in Toledo hockey in a long, long, long time, maybe 25 years since the Riley Cup was won by the Toledo Storm.